Well, less than a week and my N64 tutorial has already been rendered completely obsolete, as the RetroArch team has completely rewritten the parallel RDP for N64 emulation, which means that fast and accurate N64 emulation is available to practically all PC users who have a rig from 2014 on. So today I am going to show you how to set that up, and it is pretty freaking awesome, so let's dig in. The first thing you're going to need is RetroArch. If you don't already have it, head over to retroarch.com, click on the download tab. From here, scroll down to the mid-bottom, click on Nightly Builds. Now, this new renderer for Parallel is only available on Windows and Linux currently, so this is a tutorial for Windows, so that works out for us. x86-64. Scroll all the way down to the bottom and download retroarch.7zip, and if for whatever reason you extract it, try to run it, and it doesn't work, download this redistributable.7zip, extract that, run that, you should be good to go. Now that RetroArch is downloaded, go ahead and get it extracted, and make sure you have the folder placed where you want to keep it, because once you run RetroArch for the first time, it does default all of its directories into itself, and if you move it, all of your saves, your BIOS files, anything like that will be looking for the old directories and not work. If that ends up happening to you, you can always just delete the retroarch.config file, so my directory is defaulted to my desktop. I end up moving it, things don't work, I'm going to have to start from scratch by deleting my config file. There we go. Anyway, let's get to the N64 games, shall we? After RetroArch loads, you can press F on your keyboard to go to full screen mode. From here, we're going to go to the Online Updater, Core Updater, and we're going to press right on our keyboard to scroll down to the Nintendo section quicker here, and we are looking for Nintendo 64 Parallel. There it is. Now that that's downloaded, you can go ahead and press backspace on your keyboard twice. Now that that's downloaded, we have a little bit of setup to do to access the new Parallel renderer. The first thing we're going to need to do is change our video driver over to Vulkan. If you don't change it over to Vulkan, it pretty much doesn't work. From the main menu here, go down to Settings, Drivers, Video, Vulkan. And now that you have that set, you can go ahead and load up into any N64 game that works by default. So I'm just going to load into GoldenEye real quick. And now that it's pulled up, we're going to press F1 on the keyboard to bring up our quick menu. From here, scroll down to Options. We're going to scroll down to the GFX plugin. And we're going to change this from Auto to Parallel. And then for the RSP plugin, which is the audio plugin, we're going to change this from Auto to Parallel as well. And now that those are selected, we're going to go ahead and press backspace to back out and close the content. Now when you load up your N64 games, they will be using the Parallel RDP and RSP, and this combination is insane. It is as accurate as Angry Lion at a mere fraction of the compute power required to achieve it. It's insane. And of course this means demanding games like Battle for Naboo are now very, very playable on very modest hardware. Like, this is awesome. Now, this new Parallel RDP is based off of Angry Lion. That was what they used as their base point, so it still has a lot of the same issues that Angry Lion does graphically. It's not completely perfect yet, but it is far better than anything we've ever had in N64, especially at this performance. Like, this is incredible. And of course, this is still brand new, so there's a lot of work that is going into this. They're hoping to get far better graphical accuracy, as well as allow upscaling. That's something that Angry Lion can't do. It would be so beyond demanding that it's just not something that could even be in the realm of possibility for a long time. But with this new Parallel RDP, we could possibly see accurate N64 graphics upscaled. Like, this is going to be fantastic. I cannot wait to see how this develops over the coming years. Even Resident Evil 2 works completely perfectly, cutscenes work, and you don't stand on the backgrounds as you play. Like, again, this new plugin is as good as Angry Lion at such a minimal cost of performance. Oh, it's so good. But let's go over some of the core options that are available in the new Parallel renderer here. So if we press F1 on our keyboard, or if you have a controller plugged in that has a guide button, you can press that as well. It'll bring you back to the quick menu. We're going to go back down to the options screen. And so first thing that you're going to want to change, you can change your expansion, your controller expansion from Rumble and Memory to nothing. So, I mean, if you're playing GoldenEye, you can use a Rumble pack. If you need a game that needs a controller pack, you can change it to Memory pack here. You can do that for all 4 controllers. Next up is the Parallel Synchronous Rtp. Honestly, if you have a decent rig, you can leave this on. If you get some weird stutterings and just feel like performance isn't as good as it should be, and trust me, it should be pretty good with this setup, turn this off. Just something to be aware of. Next up, we have the Parallel Rtp VI options here, so you can use these to disable some of the features of the N64's video chip, like blur, anti-aliasing, things like that. So if you turn these off, you end up with unfiltered image. And honestly, I think this looks better than Angry Lion's unfiltered image. But then you can also just turn on the ones that you want to keep or turn off the ones you don't. Like, I really like being able to better select what is actually on here. So it's like, I don't want bilinear filtering, but I want anti-aliasing. Don't want the dithering, so turn the dithering back on. Like, look at this. Then of course you can turn it back on if you want the blur. Honestly, very happy with this already. Like, it's just a day old and I'm so excited. I spent so much time playing around with this yesterday. It's nuts. Honestly, with how good this renderer is now, this is basically what I would recommend to almost everyone that wants to play N64 games through emulation. N64 was a weird system. It had a bunch of interesting graphical processes, and it has a very distinct look to it, and the only way that you could mimic that was through Angry Lion, but it was so demanding, it was just inaccessible to all but the best processors, and that's just no longer the case. And it's amazing. Honestly, about the only reason I wouldn't recommend this plugin setup to anyone is just if they want to upscale. Like, if you want to play at higher resolutions, this will not work yet. They say they are going to implement it. This renderer is only a day old, so it will grow, it will get expanded functionality, it will get better, but this is such a huge step for N64 emulation. I just could not be more excited about it. Like, this is blowing my mind. Oh, it's so good. Angry Lion without the performance hit. Like, I can play my N64 games super accurately even on my lower end emulation machine now. Like, it blows me away. Now again, internal resolution can't be changed yet with the new parallel renderer here, so that will be coming in the future. Next up is the texture filtering. I like to set this to N64 3 but honestly, I haven't been able to tell much of a difference between the 3 with this renderer yet. I'm not sure if it's quite implemented, because Nearest should make these look like PS1 textures, and that's just not the case here, so it might not be working with this renderer yet. Same thing with dithering, you turn that on and off. I haven't noticed a difference in my small testing. Again, this has only been out for a day, so I don't have the most extensive testing done on this yet. The last thing I want to cover real quick is the N64 overclocking. So I didn't cover this in my last N64 video just because Angry Lion is so demanding that you can't really overclock it that much to begin with on certain machines, so I just didn't want to even cover it, but now you can. So there's the VI refresh, which overclocks the video. So by default, it's set to auto, which is usually the 1500 setting, but you can actually overclock this to 2200, and you will get this insanely increased speed to work with. Like, it's nuts. And then you can also overclock the frame rate from original to full speed as well, but honestly, I don't know. I've always just kind of preferred to overclock the VI. Personally, you can mess around with this. The frame rate one does require a restart if you change it, so just be aware of that. But that's going to pretty much do it as far as core options and everything like that is concerned. Let's go ahead and cover playlist creation again real quick. From the main menu of RetroArch, you could go to the Show Desktop menu button or press F5 on your keyboard, and it will bring up the RetroArch quick menu. And from here, we can make a playlist so we don't have to use that awful content browser. But if you go ahead and right-click over in this area, you could do a new playlist. Type in Nintendo, space, Nintendo 64. That gives you a nice little 64 thumbnail, playlist entry thing. Cool. And then from here, you can right-click, add folder, scroll to where your games are held, select the folder, core, parallel, database, Nintendo 64. Press OK. And that will add every game that you had in that folder to your playlist. And if you want to really pretty this up, you can actually download box arts by right-clicking over on the playlist entry, download all thumbnails, this playlist. Now, games do need to be named a specific way for the automatic downloader to work. They need to include the region code and just be named how RetroArch is expecting to find them. If it isn't, it won't download a cover art for it. So for me, it looks like most of my games were in the proper format. I don't know why I have 2 Battle for Naboos, that's fine. But one it didn't find for me was GoldenEye. So what I like to do when the cover art isn't found, or it's one I don't like, I head over to GameFAQs.com. They have a wonderful media section here full of user-uploaded images, including box arts. So I'm just going to download the US box art for GoldenEye here. And now that it's downloaded, I'm going to make sure I have GoldenEye selected in my playlist, and I'm going to drag the box art over to this area over here that says box art. Or I'm going to right-click and not do it, that's fine. But now there is a box art for GoldenEye. Now whenever I select, there we go. And then to get these playlists to show up within RetroArch, just close it down, start it back up. Now over on the left-hand side, we have a wonderful Nintendo 64 entry, complete with N64 controller. Click on it, we see cartridges, box art's over on the right. And then to play a game, all you need to do is click on it and click run. But that's going to do it for today's tutorial. Thank you so much again, as always, for watching. I'm really excited about the state of N64 emulation now. There's so much more potential for it, finally. And I can't wait to see where we are in another 6 months. Like, this is exciting times for N64 fans, really. It really is. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that sub button, that like-dislike button, just depending on how much you like today's tutorial. And if you'd like to further help support the channel, you could always click on that join button here on YouTube, or check out that Patreon link in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. I cannot express enough gratitude just for the thoughts and consideration, and for all of you who have already done so, thank you so incredibly much for your generosity. You really keep this channel going. I cannot ever thank you enough, so just bottom of my heart, thank you. But until next time, stay awesome. We'll see you all back next video.